Hello, everybody. Welcome to Strategize Your Business Online. This is the live designed for entrepreneurs like yourself who are looking for a dose of business inspo and ways to grow your business in the online space. My name is Dee Boswell-Buck, and I am the host and also the digital marketing strategist behind Boswell-Buck Creative Consulting. And what we do is we help you to connect with your dream clients in the online space so you can earn more revenue. I'm always excited. I don't know why I always say that, but I'm really excited that I have an amazing guest on, and I am going to read her bio, and then we're all going to meet her. So before I get started, everyone, if you can please put in the chat, who are you? Like, what's your name? What is the name of your business? Who is it that you serve? How is it that you help them? And if you are watching the replay, please be sure to key in the word replay and just share all of that information as well. So here I go, talking about my lovely guest. Lisa Dickie is the head chef and founder of Dickie's Cooking School in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Her motto: there has never been a better or easier time to learn how to cook. Whether you are looking for in-person or virtual cooking classes, workshops, or parties, Dickie's Cooking School, they have something for anyone, any age, 4 and up. Now, Toronto, where Dickie's Cooking School is the most multicultural city in the world. As a result, Dickie's Cooking School has access to a terrific range of restaurants, or sorry, excuse me, Lisa. Toronto has an access to a terrific range of restaurants, food, and cuisines. There are endless recipes to try, dishes to taste, and techniques to master. And of course, we can't wait to cook something fantastic with you. Now, Lisa believes that cooking and eating is about being social, being creative, and celebrating. And she also works with a team of like minded chefs. Now, here's a quote from Lisa: the only thing I enjoy more than cooking is teaching. My approach to teaching is simple. My knowledge is your knowledge. My approach is friendly, laid back, and inclusive. And the goal is to learn and to have fun. Lisa Dickie of Dickie's Cooking School, welcome to Strategize Your Business Online. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great, and I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm really excited to be included.
Thank you so much for being here. Now, again, everyone, if you're tuning in, please be sure to include in the chat your name and the name of your business and who it is that you serve. And I will circle back and say hello. So, Lisa, this was a really great bio. And we know that you've got Dickie's Cooking School in Toronto, Ontario. And even though we read that, I would love if we can start with who you are and what it is that you do.
I have a background in teaching. I used to be a special ed teacher, and I took a break from that to have my kids. And when I was teaching special ed, I always enjoyed including a cooking component or a science experiment a component, basically as the reward that was the Friday reward. And so after many years away from teaching, I would still do like freelance catering, or I'd have opportunity, like I'd supply baked goods to coffee shops and things like that, just when my kids were young. And then I really started to, when I was thinking about really re-entering the workforce, I thought I would love to combine just a full time my love of cooking and my love of teaching, because I just saw this widening gap in confidence and skills around cooking. And you can see evidence of that with all of the meal kit programs that are around. And I'm not knocking them at all. They're a really effective and straightforward tool to map out your meals for the week. I find them really expensive, and they do tend to create a ton of waste around packaging. But there's a growing gap between people who want to eat and don't know how to start, because it's a big undertaking to plan recipe menus for the week, to shop, and to not like to kind of minimize your food waste. And so I thought I wanted to create an environment where people could feel really comfortable, and it could be easy and light, and really focus on what do you want to learn how to cook, and to trust your own palate. Like, you're going to cook for yourself, so you're just going to want to have to like what you're cooking, and to eliminate any kind of there's a lot of people have a lot of shame, particularly when they get to an adult age, around not being able to do anything like around the kitchen. They feel really embarrassed about it. And so I really wanted to set up an environment where people could just feel like, say, I just want to learn how to do it. Like I just want to feel safe and comfortable and learn how to cook. So it's not a chore, or so it's not takeout or only frozen meals.
Yeah.
And I did that 6 years ago.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, I'm just going to share with you that I tried one of those meal kits recently. I have a friend, and she was just sharing on Instagram. Mind you, she also loves to cook. So, and when you put like a video together, it looks so easy. Like, she had the clips together, and then the next thing you know, she and her husband were having something with shrimp. And she did have a link, and I did try it, and I did like it. The thing that I didn't really enjoy was it somewhat easy? It was easy, but the seasonings, for instance, like, they make it easy. So the seasonings came in a packet. So
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it was good for that day, but I don't know if I would be able to recreate it because everything was like all measured out,
Yeah.
you know? And is like doing that, is it sustainable? Not so much, because it was an amazing deal on that first time. But if you're going to continue to order, it would be very expensive.
It's really expensive. I mean, again, if that's I think for a lot of people that's a prohibitive cost. Like if you did 5 meals a week or 4 meals a week, that's a lot of money, over and above what you definitely wouldn't have to spend that much if you did it yourself. And I do feel like the ease of having everything pre-measured and all of those things, but you do um like you I think there's a lot of passive learning that you are not aware of when you take on any endeavor that's hands-on. It doesn't have to be cooking. But so like measuring individual spices, like like if you smell, like, first you can adjust the flavoring right there when you smell the spice. Like, sometimes if you smell a spice or even taste the spice, you're like, oh, I love that, or absolutely not. Like, you know what to avoid. But if it's all assembled for you, you're missing out a bunch of knowledge. So again, I'm not knocking those kits. I'm just saying, if ultimately you want to become more confident in what you choose at the grocery store and how you prepare food, it makes I wouldn't rely solely on that, because I think you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So, have you always loved cooking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so, as a child, you cooked
Yeah.
a lot?
I loved it.
Ooh.
I loved it.
Oh,
I was
nice. What were
always
some of your favorites?
Well, when I was a child, anything it would be anything sugar related was my favorite as a child. Anything that was in the ballpark of candy, anything that was sweet, I was down with that. And then when I, was older, like when I was in grade 7 and 8, they still provided home ec. And so then it was like, obviously cookies, fudge for sure. Back to the sweet. Stir fries, any version of Chinese food. I was always super motivated if I ate something to try to recreate it. I liked that it felt like a game to me to try to either recreate the flavor or the texture or how they do that or why they like um I have a pretty good memory of a taste of something, so it gives me in terms of cooking, it gives me I've got a very clear end goal of what I want it to, how I want it to be. And so then you just keep readjusting how you're approaching it to kind of get closer to your mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Now I'm always interested in the journey. And so what did you do before Dickie's Cooking School? Like, did you work at a 9 to 5?
So before, no, I didn't. So I was, as I said, I was a teacher, and my plan all along was to return to teaching once my daughter, by the time I had my second child, when she became school age. But then there was a hiring freeze for a long time. It was like not even to get onto the supply list. And so I actually did something completely different. Because the kids were young still, and I started a business where I took old line art, like old advertising art. So anything that was royalty free. So it wouldn't be anything not connected with a brand, that would be line art from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, some 60s. And I would write captions for it, like funny captions, and then silk screen them. And so I did the One of a Kind show for 7 years. That was really I really loved it. So but the problem is when I first went into the One of a Kind show, the way it was organized is you couldn't, if you didn't do everything yourself, or if everything wasn't handmade. I mean, I didn't hand make my t-shirts, obviously. Then you didn't qualify. So I had to learn how to silk screen pretty quickly. Things had shifted by the time I stopped doing it. But by that time, because I was silk screening everything by hand, it was the volume, because I did t-shirts and tea towels and aprons and eye masks. And it was becoming physically like, when you get to the point where you're like, I don't want to be doing this in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so I've always throughout everything, I've always cooked for myself, for my family, for my kids. I've done, would do private things for people. And so then was just one of those moments where I thought, what do I want to do? And I'm like, I want to combine cooking and teaching. And so I just did it.
Nice. I love it. Now, you mentioned earlier that there's a shame that people have, and I get it. Like, I mean, I'm from a, West Indian background. I was like first generation. I was born here, and the way my parents were, well, my parents, it wasn't like, it was always like, get out of the kitchen, get
Oh
out
yeah.
of your way, get out of the kitchen. So now when I needed to know how to cook, especially like when I wanted to, for me, I wanted to learn some of the cultural things, or just I wanted to know how to do things. I just never felt comfortable. So what would you say are some of the myths that people have when it comes to getting comfortable in the kitchen if they're not already there?
Well, the first myth is that it's really hard. That it's very difficult, or they can't do it. And I think a lot of that comes from making a crappy meal, frankly. You
Yeah.
try something and it's garbage, or it's not good, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so then that's just what it is. Then I can't do it. Whereas if you talk to anybody who cooks, has made many, many lousy meals, many, 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 many. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's how if you mistake baking soda for baking powder, you just have to do it once usually. And then, okay, that's garbage. It's inedible. Or you learn, or some people think that they don't have the attention span, or they're not, or if their mom or dad was a terrible cook, then they're a terrible cook. Or the inverse, if their mom or dad was an amazing cook and maybe kind of brutal, right? Or kind of judgy or harsh, then that just becomes something that you decide that you can't do. And there is such an enormous range of recipes, from incredibly complicated 3, 4, 7, 2-month adventures where you're to a 20-minute meal. There's too many possibilities to single-handedly say that you can't do it. It's just
Love
not.
it.
You might not have tried something that you want. You might be scared to fail it, um, or you might not really want to do it. And then if you don't want to do it, then that's your answer. That's your answer there. Then you don't, like, that's your decision. But I think that that's the biggest myth, is that it's hard. It's not. I mean, some recipes are hard, but cooking in general is not hard.
Right. So when people are reaching out to you, what are they reaching out to you? Are they reaching out to you to say, Lisa, I want to learn how to cook? And are they saying, I want to get together with some friends and family and we want to cook together or learn how to cook? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, both those things happen. So when it comes to a private lesson, or a private lesson either with an individual, a couple, or a group, the number one question is, what do you want to make? Like, what do you like to eat? Like, let's break that down. And some things are like, they want to eat this, or if it's a bread thing, then I'll say, okay, then we have to kind of break the recipe into two sections, where I'll pre-do a portion of it, and then just so you can see each stage of it. Because for certain things like bread making, each stage is significant. Like, it's the most significant is making sure that your yeast is actually blooming, because you're not going to get anything except like stinky dough. So that's the number one thing, is what do you want to learn? Or and that could be a specific recipe, or it could be, I don't know how to use a knife. I don't know how to use a standing mixer. I don't know why. I don't understand what the attachments are for the standing mixer. Why would I have them? Why do I use them? Or I want to learn. My diet has changed, or I'm dating someone, or with someone, or my child has developed a sensitivity. I don't know how to cook vegan food. I mean, apart from a tub of hummus and some carrots, that's all I've got. Or I don't know how to cook gluten-free food. I don't have any knowledge of that. Or I'm having family over the holidays, and I need to create a meal that accommodates all of those things. That was my life for 20 years. My in-laws had nut allergies, vegetarian, gluten-free, dairy-free, and you're doing like a Christmas meal or whatever. Yeah. So but it's like, or I want to learn how to bake. Or there's things like, people are like, I'm terrified of making pastry. That's another myth. Pastry's so hard. It's impossible. It's not even a little bit. But there's so people, I want to be able to make a pie, or I want to be able to make, I want to have a rotation of 5 great meals that I can use, if I'm having people over. So it's either for a private lesson, or they're like, I want an event. I want to have an interactive, I want to have a party where cooking is involved, where we plan the menu as a group beforehand, and we come in and have a drink, and we learn how to make pasta, or we learn how to we do a Cajun meal. And so it's a combination of, to have a little bit of, like, have fun, have a great meal, and then learn something. And so when we do that, it's sort of like, well, how much do you want to work? Do you actually want to chop onions, or do you want it all laid out and you have the recipe and put it together? So those are some pretty common requests.
I like the fact that you lead with, what do you want to make, or what's going on in your life? Because I will say that when I have looked at cooking schools online, for instance, I see that they have like specific things that you're going to make in like for the way that they do their business, and I'm like, yeah, that's not something that I want to have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and then I can see why people may think that pastries are hard, but everybody, it is not.
It is not.
Because those pictures are so beautiful, right? Like you go online and then you're reading recipes and they're talking about the crust being so light and flaking, and you're like, who am I to be able to do the most perfect crust? So just hearing all of the words and the way things are laid out, and there are so many great cooking shows online, and I like, for me, I can feel the whole imposter syndrome thing because, well, the gorgeous kitchen and they've got all of the attachments, they know what to do. So I can definitely say that, yeah, when it comes to cooking, I'm really glad that you mentioned that it can be as easy as we want it to be, and there are so many different recipes because there's so many different things out there that make you feel like it needs to be perfect.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I feel like that. I'm not knocking social media. I use social media, but I mean, like any cookbook, any any Instagram feed, you know, they're not showing you when the beater's going and you get distracted and you lift it up and it whips all the way around the room and you've got to clean it up and then get it reset up and do it again. Um, that perfection is such, I don't know. I think it's I understand from a sales point of view, you want it to look visually enticing and you want to create a need or a want in someone when they see it. Where I find it insidious is where it actually um tamps down people's spirit to try something. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that's sort of, it's sort of, you have this imaginary I just think of, when you go if your kids are in school and you got to get a little note the night before, always got to bring in baked goods for the morning, and then it's become stressful. You have this notion that, oh, it's going to look ugly or it's going to look crappy or people won't like it or whatever it is. And the truth is there could be some really snitty parents who who get a lot of validation about having the most perfect, beautiful cupcakes that they put on the table, and they might disparage what you do. And I say, let them. I don't really care. I mean, that whole, like, I can't do, if I can't, if I shouldn't do it if it's not perfect. Well, that seems like you're really shortchanging yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to get to the topic of, the name of our show is Fueling Success, Healthy Economical Eating Hacks for Entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So, I'm an entrepreneur. A lot of my friends are entrepreneurs, and I'm always on the go. I know
Mhm.
that they're always on the go, the ones who have shared things with me. And actually, there's somebody who made a comment when we were sharing, that we're having this live, because we started off with like, who is going through this, and he put up some emojis with the multiple hands, like, this is me. And I wanted to talk about like, what are some quick tips that entrepreneurs can do, and then also, I don't know if this is even like the same topic or something different. Now, as of today, so at the day of this recording, like the Bank of Canada, I'm always like, oh no, the Bank of Canada and interest rates. So everything is kind of staying still. But just generally speaking, I mean, the price of food is so expensive.
It is.
And how is it that people can make the right choices to eat healthy and, oh, I don't know, like, it's like, should I pay for this?
Mhm.
Or, oh, I'm going to pay for this, but it's going to cost me a lot. I think a lot of people feel that when you're buying healthy things, it's going to cost you a lot. And I've been hearing on the news lately that people are making the choice that they're just going to put the food in their cupboard. But I'm all over the place. But this is what I typically have. So I
Yeah,
have an apple, and I don't skimp on my apples. I love my Honeycrisp apples.
no,
So
they are
I
good.
hide them in the fridge. My daughter's now likes them. She won't take the other apples. And then I have like peanut butter
Yeah.
because I've like lately, the last couple of years, I find apples to be like too sweet. I'll get a headache.
Yeah.
So I just like, I cut the apple and I put the peanut butter on it. And I don't do this because it's to save money, but I also do this because it's kind of quick. And then after a while, I get sick of it because I'm just on the go. So I don't know if you can answer any of those things. I mean, I just threw a whole bunch of things at you.
Yeah,
So
no. So, number one, the number one thing you're going to do when you're going to try to plan your meals for the week and plan your groceries for the week is the first thing you do, instead of even before you think what I want to eat, you've got to look at your schedule. What days are like when are you going to be home? What if you're going to be home at 6 o'clock? Then I wouldn't plan a meal that takes an hour to cook, because a fight's going to break out. Everybody's going to be hungry and mad, or you're going to have a bowl of cereal. Okay. Which is
I
fine.
know.
That is fine. Don't, if you need to eat, if you're starving, if you come home starving, then, or if it's a day where you're like, I'm working right until 6 o'clock, then I got to take my someone here and there, I've got this window, then you're going to think what's fast and easy. And so you basically, you're like, what do you need? I need protein and I need to be able to eat it. And you need you need fiber, you need fruit or veg. Okay. So if it's super fast, that's soup. You can do a soup in 30 minutes. Eggs, breakfast for dinner is great. Loads of just straight up scrambled or an omelet or whatever. Eggs in a smoothie, great. There's if you've got if you happen to have any leftovers, like anything leftover rice, great. You could do a really quick fried rice if you've got any leftover protein. Okay, those are, so you just got to think of those two. What's my protein? What's my veg? And then if you need something to fill it out, okay, I want a little bit of pasta, I want a bit of rice, I want some bread to kind of fill me up. Then if you're like, okay, so for these are the days that I'm in survival mode. I'm going to fill everybody up, and I'm not going to spend an hour cleaning up the kitchen afterwards because I'm going to be miserable, like really mad. So then you look at the other days, you're like, okay, so now I have a little bit more time. So whenever you have a little bit more time, you want to think, well, what about the next day? If I'm going to invest 45 minutes to cook a dinner, I'm going to get lunch or a second meal out of that. I'm not going to. So then you're looking at, okay, so, and one of the easiest things is a whole chicken. One, it's always the cheapest. I shouldn't say always. It's almost always your cheapest option is to just buy a whole chicken. Unless it's random week, when like 1 week the chicken is $10 for a whole chicken and then the next week it's 20. So don't go for when it's way up in price, then just say, okay, fine. So if you roast a whole chicken, number one, you can get, definitely, depending on the size of your family and your appetites, you can absolutely get one meal out of that. Depending on the portion size, you could actually probably get 2, 3. You roast the chicken, serve the chicken, and then you could do everything in the pan, like your vegetables or whatever you roast with it. The next day, you could do chicken sandwiches with that. You could take the bones from the chicken, simmer them, make a bit of stock. Then all you're going to do is fry up onions, carrots, celery, add your chicken stock, throw your chicken pieces, and the last few minutes throw in whatever any kind of greens you can put in, broccoli, spinach, kale, and now you've got a chicken soup. Never throw out your bones. I, as a matter of course, always just throw the bones in a Ziploc bag, and then when I get a critical mass, then I just throw them in. To that end, if you have carrots, if you have onions and garlic on hand, you can make loads and loads of meals. Onions, garlic, carrots, and celery are your basically your pillars for any soups, sauces. They're an aromatic. They cook forever. You can do lots with them. So if you always have onions and garlic, and either have a container of chicken stock, or you have a dehydrated chicken stock, or you make your own chicken stock, you have loads of options. If you make, anytime you make rice, make more than you need.
Yeah.
Leftover rice is great. You can do, you can make fritters with it. You can do obviously a fried rice. I mentioned you have a lot of options that way. So what I like to do when I'm planning my week is I like, where are my easy days?
I like that.
When am I going to have, like, when I was a kid, Sunday dinner was the big dinner, like, of the week. It was like a big sit down meal. And so Sundays, typically I like cooking, so that makes it easier for me. But I like to do, maybe I'll do a big pasta sauce, or maybe I'll roast a chicken, or maybe if I get a steak, I get an oversized steak. So again, I've got sandwiches, or I could do a really quick, like, kind of a nice beef stew that you can basically, you're just going to grill your vegetables and add your beef and throw some stock on. It's really easy. So there are those meals. If you want to go, or sometimes I'll do is I'll make something like a big beef stew or a big chicken soup. And as soon as I make it, I've already got my containers ready. So I'm like, I'm going to portion this out. So
Mm.
then on nights where those same quickie nights, I can take that out in the morning, and then I can just defrost the stew in the fridge, and then I definitely have dinner in 20 minutes. That's easy.
Wow. I got a lot of information here.
Yeah. So you're combining long form. If you do anything long form, let it pay you twice, at least pay you twice.
I love that.
Because it's a way, because you do kind of waste your time. And sometimes if you're the only person essentially that's doing that cooking, that was always pretty much me in the house, then it's like it's an added job that you don't necessarily always want to do, and but you still have to eat. Now on the topic, so I'm going to talk about a few things more that are really helpful to just always have. So again, onions and garlic, I don't know, I can't think of when I don't use them. So they're there. Chicken stock, for sure. Any kind, you had peanut butter, tahini,
Mm.
any kind of nut butter. Those things you can be used in baking. I mean, peanut butter is added in. You can add that to, I mean, especially for Asian cooking, for
Yeah.
sauces. Add it, and and tahini is great in a dressing. It's great if you do something like a glory bowl where you just roast a bunch of vegetables, and then
Mm.
you add some greens, and then some sort of protein. It could be lentils, it could be a wheat berry, and then you can make a really great easy dressing with that. Again, that's a really good 2-day, like a 2-day hearty salad. Um, Legumes or pulses. So any plant-based protein is the cheapest. It's like it has everything. It's cheap, it's got protein, it's got fiber. That's so if you're in a home where people are like, "Ooh, I don't eat plant-based," then I would work it in slowly. So my favorite of all the legumes is the white Romano bean. It's
Mhm.
it's got almost no flavor. It's such a soft texture that if you added that into a soup and puree it, like if you have a hand blender, puree it, it adds protein, it adds fiber, it adds density, it makes it creamy and thick. You don't even know it's there. I don't believe in lying to if you've got kids, I don't believe lying to them about what's in. I think you only get away with that for a bit, and then you create bigger problems. So I would never lie to my kids that I've got lentils in something or Romano beans. But if they don't ask, I'm not going to say, "Oh, by the way, this is stuff you hate that's in it." But it's a really easy way to make it adds a beautiful texture to it, but it's got such a health boost to it that it's kind of crazy not to use them. And so the easiest way to use them is from a can. All you have to do is rinse them because the liquid is kind of yucky. The cheapest way is to just buy them dry. Now, if you buy them dry, you're trading your time for pennies. That's what you're doing. So you got to soak them and then you have to cook them. But white Romano beans, red lentils cook so quickly. You can throw them in any soup. You could even put them in a tomato sauce. You can't see them. And then for example, if you make a tomato sauce, just tomato sauce, no protein, with noodles. Throw some lentils in it. You've got protein now and fiber, because tomato sauce and noodles is delicious, but without any protein, it's not a very sustainable meal. So you kind of always have to look at how am I going to add protein to that. So I think I've kind of got off track. So I've done lentils, have some sort of stock on hand all the time, gravy, soup, really healthy, really easy. You need some at least one type of oil that's multi-purpose. So olive oil is pretty good, except some if you need to use it for baking, you can bake cakes with olive oil, but it has a distinctive flavor. So you want olive oil, and if you can afford to have a few, then either have sunflower, avocado, grapeseed, canola. Those will give you a bit more flexibility. So if you have olive oil in that, then you've got something that can do. Then you can either fry with it, bake with it. It's got you can cook it at a higher temperature before it smokes. So that's really, really helpful. Of course, having some flour on hand, you kind of want to have flour, and then you need an acid. You always need some kind of vinegar or lemons or something. You're going to use that to cook, and you're going to use that to make dressings, and that'll give you options there.
That is amazing. Like, I feel that if somebody's going to be watching this, I always hear my daughter say, "Oh, they've made a meme of something." And I feel like it's going to be like different clips of me saying, ooh, right?
If anybody, I apologize for interrupting. I was going to say, I do have a pantry essential guide, which is essential. If anybody wants it, just make a comment and I'll make it available to you.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is, if anyone can do that, and I'm making notes here that I will like share the link to that. And another link that I'd like to share, like maybe we can quickly touch on that. You have, what is this that you have about eat healthy for cheap? What's that about, Lisa?
So first I buy groceries all the time for home and for school, and I, like everyone else, noticed not only were the prices increasing at like a rate that seemed to surpass inflation, gas prices, wage increases, and all of that. My experience at the grocery store is it's random. Like I'll 1 week something is this price. The next week it could be 50%, 100% more, then it goes back down. And it's so for a lot of us, we eat a lot of the same foods week after week, right? We get this like that's becomes our habit, right? Because those are the recipes we know. This is what our family eats. And so if you don't have a lot of flexibility, if you're like, well, if the only thing I eat is skinless, boneless chicken breast, then I guess I'm going to pay $25 for it this week. So if you so I thought, what would be helpful is to have a course that sort of goes over what are some, like I've got 25 plus inexpensive but tasty meals to eat that you might not necessarily have in your roster, but also how do you choose vegetables most effectively when you go to the supermarket, because it's one thing to pay too much for it and it's another thing to get it home and have it rot the next day, and then you're like, I'm in a rage now. So I thought about this course at first I thought, well, because my son was moving out east in September. I thought, well, that would be helpful for him because he's going to be doing all his own groceries now. And then I thought, so for university students and young people, but I just thought for anybody who's looking like, I just want a bit of a refresh on how I can make the most of my discretionary spending for food. And for people who are on fixed income or limited income, it's really stressful right now to try to eat healthy, right? Like to try to have any kind of range in food choices. I mean, I see it at the supermarket. People are just buying loaves of bread. I think a lot of people are eating not really balanced meals because that's what they can afford. But there are actually really good options that are tasty, and it's not all vegan food, in case anybody's like, okay, great, it's all going to be all white Romano bean recipes. But there are a lot of choices, and I really thought I wanted it to be helpful. I wanted to immediately address the need of people struggling to have a healthy diet.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll definitely share the link for that on this live as well. Now, of course, like I do digital marketing, and I always like to tie things back in. And when it comes to social media platforms, Lisa, what platforms do you focus on, and do you enjoy like doing the marketing on your business and things like that?
I do like the market. So the my favorite platform is Instagram. Just I don't know why. I guess everybody's sort of, you just kind of get, and I like the content that personally comes in on my feed. I follow lots of chefs online, so I like looking at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and I find that really inspiring. And I like making videos. I find it fun, and it's kind of nice to be a bit of a goof and like enjoy myself. And I really do want to I really am trying to give the message that this is fun and tasty and easy, and just like take a deep breath. It's not hard. So I love being able to provide video content. That's a medium that I feel more comfortable with. I'm getting more involved, or I'm posting videos more regularly on LinkedIn. Um,
Mhm.
but and I like that. And then of course I do. I mean, I know that Instagram and Facebook are essentially the same in many ways, the same platform. So I guess Instagram, but I gravitate toward Instagram, and um, I'm trying to be a bit more consistent on TikTok and Threads, but sometimes it's like, seriously, do not come up with another one, because I don't want to do another
Yeah, right. I know. I
one.
am. I do like Threads. I mean, I haven't shared anything on there. I think when it launched, I shared on there for about a week and a half, and then I was just like, well, I always tell everybody you don't have to be everywhere, and I take that advice for myself as well. So, and then I do have a friend who is on it, and I jump into her DMs on, well, on Instagram, but she shares on Threads because I have, so my full name is Denise. People call me Dee. Dee Time is a person who's a social media strategist. Denise is outside of that, when my daughter goes to bed, or I'll just be downstairs and they're like, what is she laughing at? I'm just laughing like crazy. But I share that story often, and I jumped into my friend's DMs and I'm like, darn you, you have another great question. And I had to answer it not on the time that I have segmented for, personal time. I'm like, you're so good. And I think like she's one of the main reasons I'm like, I can't be on Threads, because I feel like she's really mastering it.
Yeah.
And but she just asked some really great questions, and I'm like, I just can't be on this platform.
Wow.
So,
That's
but what
awesome that he's doing it.
yeah, yeah. But what I want to say about your Instagram account for everyone, by all means, check out Lisa's her reels, because Lisa has not only like recipes, but just loads of tips. Like there's one where she's talking about knives, and like our kids need to learn how to use knives in the kitchen, right? And I know that a lot of people are afraid of that, or just how to shop and look for like how to compare things. So everyone, take a look for Lisa for Dickie's Cooking School on Instagram. Thank you so much for answering that, Lisa. So before we go, I would love to know, what are the top lessons, or what is one top lesson or feeling that your clients walk away with after they work with you?
I think they feel satisfied. I think I I derive so much pleasure. Like I love telling people stuff that I know. And if they're like, "Ooh, I didn't know how to do that." And if for example, like if someone pastry is a common, I've done lots of private lessons on pastry. Just pie pastry. And so I love it when I have the experience where I break it down, they make it, and they're like, "That's delicious." And it's like, "I did that." And I'm like, you did, you did do that." And I feel like I feel like they feel satisfied. They feel welcome and comfortable, and they're like, I give them lots of opportunities. Like, this is how I like it. You need to taste it for you. This is what you're eating. Like, I can tell you if you're going to eat what I eat, it's going to be garlicky. So if you like garlic, but this is like you're the boss of you. Like, I feel like there people can feel so tentative, particularly around like, you know, is it right? Like, is it right that I like this, or is it wrong that I like this? Like, I feel like there's like like sort of a carryover on that shame front. Like, some people can feel ashamed that they can't cook, or sometimes people feel ashamed about what they like to eat, right? Like,
Mm,
if they like to put ketchup on things, or they like it's wrong somehow, and it's like it's absolutely not. And so just let go of that, and you're okay. And so I feel like they most typically they come away satisfied and pleased with themselves.
yeah. Last year, my daughter and I, we took an online, you had like an online making split pea soup. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And we're both like, how's this going to go? And man, when we were finished, it was so delicious. And we had leftovers. So I highly recommend that people reach out to you. We really enjoyed it. And Lisa, do you have any promos that are coming up?
So I've got a cheese making workshop coming up in November 12th. I should have that date right, but it's so we'll make homemade mozzarella cheese and mascarpone and cream cheese. It's really easy to
Mm,
make your own cheese. And so for me, I love mascarpone is like my favorite. It's great in dessert. It's really great. It's really great on a spicy pasta to just put a dollop on top. I love it. And it's really expensive to make, so it's wonderful to be able to make that yourself. And of course, homemade mozzarella is fantastic. And I'm booking lots of team building, like either family or team building holiday parties. So my space is not huge, so it's really ideal for 12, 15 people tops, to do hands-on cooking parties. You do pasta, sushi, and they're really fun to plan. You really you basically dictate what you want to make.
yeah.
And so those are coming up, and then in December there'll be lots of, if you keep an eye open for cookie decorating parties and holiday themed stuff. Where I'm doing a limoncello and Bailey's workshop as well. If you want to make your own limoncello and Bailey's, which is there's
Yes, I
no
do.
there's no reason not to do that.
Right. Oh my goodness. Thank you. So whatever we have links for, we'll be sure to share that. Well, Lisa, we are going to wrap up, and I want everyone to learn more about you. Sign up for that limoncello and Bailey's course. And actually, the cheese one sounds absolutely delicious. So, how can people find out more about you?
Well, you can go to Instagram. So you go to Dickie's Cooking there, or you can just go to my website, dickiescookingschool.com. And if you don't see something that you want, just take the contact form and send me a note, and I'll be happy to arrange a class for you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on to the show. It's such an important thing. I mean, we eat, we go grocery shopping, and food plays such an important part in our lives. And again, sometimes it can be overwhelming, but it's great to know that there are so many different variations of recipes. So if you want to learn at no matter what level, it can be done. So thank you so much for coming on board and sharing that with everybody here on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, everybody, we're taking a break next week for Strategize Your Business Online, but we will be back with another amazing guest on the 8th of November. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we are talking about November already. So thank you, everybody. Let us know if you are watching this live, or let us know in the replay, and look out for the links. We have loads of links that we are going to share. Bye, everybody. And thank you so much, Lisa.
Bye. Thank you.